Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something pretty impactful. How speaking English can really shape your life. We've been looking at this discussion from an English learning platform, and it's clear it's way more than just, learning words.
Oh, definitely. It's about how this skill sort of unlocks things, personally, professionally.
Exactly. The sources we looked at, they really frame it as this gateway to, global interaction. Our mission today is kind of distill what makes it so life-changing.
And a key point that comes up right away is English as this, global language. It's everywhere, isn't it? International business, travel, science, entertainment.
It really is.
It functions like a bridge, connecting cultures, letting people interact without needing multiple languages. It offers this almost instant connection worldwide.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thinking about travel, which I know you value.
Right.
One insight was just how transformative speaking English can be on a trip. Not just for getting around, but for those, unexpected chats.
Yeah, those deeper connection. It's not just about asking for directions. It's about actually understanding a place better.
And there was this really great personal story shared, wasn't there?
There was, yeah. Someone talking about interacting with people from, all over the place, simply because English was their common ground.
Wow.
And these weren't just quick chats. They led to new perspectives, actual experiences, friendships even. It really paints English as a key, a key to different cultures.
And it's not just those big moments like traveling. The sources also pointed at the practical side, day-to-day stuff.
Like what?
Well, imagine you're out somewhere and someone's struggling with a language barrier. Being able to step in, help out, that gives you a real confidence boost for handling, anything really.
That's a great point. And if we zoom out a bit to career stuff, this is where English proficiency really seems to shine.
Okay, yeah, let's talk career transformation.
The materials, they're quite clear. In today's global market, English is often, crucial. You need it for international clients, suppliers, colleagues.
It gives you that edge.
It absolutely does. And one source actually mentioned a statistic professionals fluent in English, significantly more likely to be considered for promotions in multinationals. That's pretty concrete.
Wow, okay. So a direct link there. And it's more than just emails, right? The discussion mentioned travel for work.
Right. Representing your company internationally becomes a real possibility if your English is strong. And those experiences, they're huge for growth, both personal and professional.
Yeah, I can see that.
And what's really compelling is how the sources link fluency to, career progression, aiming high in an international company. English fluency often becomes, non-negotiable. And that's across industries, tech, finance, marketing, you name it. Good communicators get more responsibility.
Right. And it even affects how you feel at work, doesn't it? The confidence aspect.
Totally. If you're confident speaking English, you're probably more likely to jump into discussions, share ideas in meetings, just articulate yourself better without that worry of being misunderstood.
You're not holding back.
Exactly. And this changes how you're perceived, too. The sources suggest better English skills can lead to more assertiveness.
Which gets noticed.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Management might see it, potentially viewing you as having more leadership potential just because you can communicate clearly in this global language.
Interesting. And what about people not in traditional jobs, like freelancers?
Ah, yes, freelancers, entrepreneurs. English is massive for them. It unlocks the global market online. Finding international clients, partners, collaborators, it all hinges on that shared language.
Makes sense. The reach is just so much bigger.
Think about networking, too. International conferences, events, they become way more valuable if you can comfortably chat in English. Those informal conversations, they can be career-shaping.
Absolutely. Those chance encounters. And what about learning resources?
Good point. So much standardized training, industry info. It's primarily in English, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
So being proficient gives you a real leg up in just staying current, keeping pace with developments in your field.
Right. Keeping your skills sharp.
And even if your company isn't, explicitly international, being able to talk to that one client or supplier in English, their preferred language maybe, that builds trust, credibility.
Okay, so the career benefits are pretty clear.
Yeah.
Huge catalyst. But the insights also went into personal growth, right? Confidence.
That's right. It's a big theme. For many, starting to speak English feels like a hurdle, maybe a big one.
Yeah, daunting.
But the sources really stress that taking that step, learning, speaking, It does wonders for your self-esteem. Every little successful chat, no matter how simple, it builds you up.
It's empowering, isn't it? Expressing yourself in another language.
Hugely empowering. You push past that hesitation, you communicate your thought, and bam, sense of accomplishment.
And it's not just formal stuff, those travel interactions you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. When you connect with someone in English while traveling, it's more than just getting info. It's like real human connection, breaking down barriers. And each time, your confidence gets a little boost.
And that confidence bleeds over, apparently. The sources suggested feeling good about your English makes you more assertive generally.
Yeah, maybe more likely to speak up in meetings, like we said, or ask for what you need, or just start a conversation.
It connects back to self-trust.
The sources bring that up. Learning a language teaches you to trust yourself, trust you can communicate, learn from mistakes. That underlying trust helps everywhere.
Fascinating. And there were even, cognitive benefits mentioned.
Yeah, surprisingly, learning a second language, English included, can apparently boost things like problem solving, multitasking, even memory.
So you're getting a brain workout, too.
Pretty much. And that mental sharpness, well, it feeds back into confidence, doesn't it? Helps you think on your feet. Plus, critical thinking gets a boost, processing complex ideas, adapting.
And it's a journey, right? Not a race.
Exactly. The sources frame it as the self-paced journey. Every step forward, every phrase you get right, it's a win, a personal victory.
Okay, but let's be real. A lot of people are scared to speak English. That fear is a big barrier.
Oh, absolutely. The sources totally acknowledge that. Feeling anxious about mistakes, about being misunderstood, it's normal. Very normal.
So what's the advice there?
A big one is mindset shift. Seeing mistakes not as failures, but as learning moments. Essential ones, actually.
Right, part of the process.
Exactly. Fluency doesn't just happen overnight. It takes practice, patience, perseverance. And making mistakes is just, part of that path. The sources normalize it.
And they suggested practical ways to ease into it.
Yeah, practicing in safe spaces, with friends, language partners, even just talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Gradually building that comfort zone.
That makes sense. Lower the stakes.
And another key thing, focus on the message, not perfection.
Yeah. Getting bogged down in grammar.
Right. Sometimes we overthink sentence structure so much we forget the goal is just to communicate. If people get your main point, that's usually enough, even with small errors.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good communication.
Precisely. Overthinking fuels the fear, the sources say. Practice builds self-trust, encourages you to just, put yourself out there.
So overcoming that fear is an active thing.
It really is. You take those steps, maybe scary at first, but the fear lessens over time. Speaking starts to feel more natural.
Okay, so we know fear is real, but manageable. What about practical tips? What can someone actually do starting today to improve? The sources had some good ones.
They did. Consistency is king, apparently. Daily practice, even short bursts.
How short?
Doesn't have to be hours. Just consistently engaging, maybe speaking to language partners, friends, or like we said, even narrating your day to yourself in English. Integrate it.
Get your brain thinking in English more.
Exactly. And then there's shadowing. You mentioned that earlier.
Right. Explain shadowing a bit more.
Okay, so shadowing is basically listening to a native speaker from a podcast, movie, whatever, and immediately repeating what they say. You try to mimic their exact pronunciation, rhythm, intonation.
Like being their echo.
Kind of. It trains your mouth muscles and your ear at the same time. Helps you internalize the natural flow and sound of English. It's surprisingly effective.
Okay. Interesting technique. What else? Recording yourself? That sounds awkward.
Yeah, it can feel weird at first, but the sources say it's super valuable. You listen back, and you hear yourself more objectively.
Oh, I see.
You can spot words or sounds you stumble on and really focus your practice there. It's like getting personalized feedback.
Okay, makes sense. And obviously apps. We live in the age of apps.
Of course. Language learning apps are great for pronunciation drills, vocab building, fluency practice. Some even connect you with other learners for interaction.
Right, building community. And what about just watching stuff?
Definitely. Watching English TV shows, movies, it's brilliant for natural immersion. The advice is maybe start with subtitles in your language, then English subtitles, then try without.
So you gradually rely less on the text.
Exactly. You start picking up natural speech patterns, common phrases, all in context.
And if there are specific words, you just keep tripping over.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. Just say them again and again until they feel less awkward, more natural, rolling off your tongue. Builds muscle memory.
Makes sense. Like practicing scales on an instrument.
Good analogy. And finally, community again. Joining language groups, online forums,
Why is that so helpful?
Motivation, mainly. Practicing with others who get it, who are on the same journey, it makes it more fun, less isolating. You learn from each other, too.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Pulling it all together, speaking English really does seem like a game changer, as the sources put it.
Yeah, it boosts careers, builds that personal confidence, connects you globally. It's really about self-improvement as much as language skills.
And the call to action is pretty clear. Start doing something.
Absolutely. The sources really encourage just taking that first step. Language learning is a journey, needs consistent effort, whether it's daily practice, joining a group. Just begin.
And I like the idea in the original discussion about sharing personal stories.
Me too. It builds that sense of shared experience, makes people feel less alone in the process, fosters community.
Definitely. And, the sources also nudged listeners to subscribe for more tips, share the info, which speaks to the value of ongoing learning and supporting each other.
Right. It's not a one-and-done thing.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Building on what we've discussed, perhaps think of mastering English less like reaching a finish line and more like embarking on this continuous journey.
A journey of growth and discovery.
Yeah. Embrace that process, use these tips, and just stay curious about where this skill might take you. It could open doors you haven't even imagined yet.